We have to be careful when a certain group or groups of people are being unpersoned, and while the unpersoning is going on, the perpetrators of the unpersoning, bear with me, pay attention, and it won't be convoluted. It's not convoluted. This is very crystal clear to anyone that looks at it. So back to this. When you have an unpersoning being perpetrated, the people that are perpetrating the unpersoning are at the same time labeling these people they are unpersoning, labels such as Nazi, fascist, while they carry on in a very fascistic, Nazistic way. You are looking at something terrible coming down the pipe. I'm not guessing about this, and I will use the most recent example, which is the rise of the Nazis and Adolf Hitler, culminating in the final solution, people that I'm related to being forced into boxcars and driven to a terrible concentration camp where in a lot of cases they were starved to death, tortured, and outright executed. Listen, when you see these things happening and it's coupled with something that, if you ask me, is the most terrifying House resolution that I've seen in the recent past. This is H.R. 127, brought about, believe it or not, by SHEILA Jackson Lee, representative of Texas. Very hard to believe, but she is a Democrat. Not hard to believe. H.R. 127 says that it is to provide for the licensing of firearm and ammunition possession and the registration of firearms, and to prohibit the possession of certain ammunition. As I said, I'm backing this up with facts. The Nazis also had a national registrar. That's what this is. It's a registry of firearms. We're going to see something that's even more terrifying to me coming up very soon. They want to know everything you have, where it is, who has it. Why? Why? We're Americans. We have the right to conceal any property that we have from the general public and the government. We even have the right to conceal illegal property from our neighbors in the government. That doesn't mean they don't have the right to find out about it through any legal means they have. But let's not be mistaken. You have the right to break the law. But if you're caught, you'll suffer the consequences. This, by the way, is not a law. This is not a law. Any law that takes away your rights, that strips you of one of your fundamental rights under the Constitution, is not a law. It is the opposite of a law. So here we go. Ms. Jackson Lee introduced the following bill, which was referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. To provide for licensing, ammunition, blah, blah, blah. Section 1, short title. This act may be cited as the, whatever, Sabaka Shika Firearms Licensing and Registration Act. They always try to tie it to something. Someone was shot, and oh, now we're going to do this. It will not stop someone else from being shot. None of their legislation thus far has. None of it has slowed down anything. Anything. The 90s with the ban on quote-unquote assault weapons didn't do anything. Section 2, licensing of firearm and ammunition possession, registration of firearms. A, firearms licensing and registration system in general, blah, blah, blah. In general, the Attorney General, through the Bureau of ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearm Murderers of 20 children in Waco. I can't remember how many adults, but they went and they firebombed these people in their home because they got sick of waiting, which is their job. By the way, they had no reason to be there to begin with. And explosives shall establish a system for licensing the possession of firearms or ammunition in the United States and for the registration with the Bureau of each firearm present in the United States. If it doesn't bother you that these people want control over your means of self-defense, you got a problem. They don't have the right to take someone's right to bear arms away because they have been convicted of a felony or a misdemeanor or anything else. If you are free, if you are over the age of 21, if you are an American citizen and you are not incarcerated, i.e. free, you have the right to possess, carry, conceal, clean, and use for your self-defense the firearm of your choice, period. This is not a bill, a law. This is an article of infringement upon the Second Amendment. Deadline for supplying information. The transmission required by paragraph 1 shall be made. Oh, and look, I didn't read all this. Under the firearm registration system, the owner of a firearm shall transmit to the Bureau these things. A, the make, model, and serial number of the firearm, the identity of the owner of the firearm, the date the firearm was acquired by the owner, and where the firearm is or will be stored. They're saying if you have to put specifically where it is in your house. This is disgusting. Sheila Jackson Lee is disgusting because she doesn't want anybody to know what's in her house. B, a notice specifying the identity of any persons to whom in any period of time during which the firearm will be loaned to the person. If it says any period. So if you're out target practicing with someone, you need to call the ATF before you hand your weapon to a friend that wants to try and see how your weapon functions. If someone wants to go hunting and would like to try your rifle, you have to call up the ATF and ask your government permission. Free people do not ask permission to do what is their right to do. That's if they do, they're no longer free. You can't have that. That's double think. The government wants you so badly to engage in this double think. They want you to give up your reasoning powers. They want your frontal lobe to shrivel. They want you to be just barely able to function on a level where you are valuable to them, but not to yourself. Okay. Deadline for supplying this information, all of this. In the case of a firearm acquired before the effective date of this section, they're assuming, I guess, it's going to be passed. It should not be passed, and hopefully it will not be passed. Within 3 months after the effective date of the section, if they pass this, you have 3 months to tell them where every firearm is that you own, the serial number, where you bought it, when you bought it, where it is stored in your house. In the case of a firearm acquired on or after the effective date, on the date the owner acquires the firearm, then. You have 3 months if you own it when this is passed, if it's passed, and you right then after it's passed. It goes on. I don't want this to be forever. It does go on right here about after applying for a license, how they'll use this NIP, whatever they call it, National Instant Criminal Background Check, NICS, whatever it is. What it is infringement. It's a vehicle of infringement. Actually, believe it or not, it's a vehicle of infringement brought to you by the NRA, your wonderful friends in the NRA, who are now insolvent because they don't represent anything. I would say anymore, but I don't believe they ever have. People don't need a national anything when it comes to your basic human rights. You have everything that you should need. You have those rights denoted on a document agreed to by the founders of this great country. It's being destroyed. We do not have a Second Amendment anymore. I strongly urge you to write your congressman, to go and visit your legislator in person, to speak to your representative, to look them right in the eye and say, no, this is nonsense. Do you not agree? Are you buying into this lefty nonsense where they have slowly but surely, incrementally driven you this way until you basically agree in a very fundamental way with the people who are actively doing everything in their power to destroy basic American rights? Be an American, have a spine, own a firearm for your protection. Go buy a firearm today if you're able. Buy, and more to the point, buy all of the ammunition you can afford. After you do those things, invest your money in gold and silver. Join me in strengthening your frontal lobes by exercising, by studying, by reading, by talking to friends and peers. Try to surround yourself with folks smarter than yourself, and you will be elevated. And be good to your friends, be good to your family members, be good to your loved ones. Be quick to say you're sorry. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, your family member, your loved one has done seems to be so huge, you'll never be able to forget about it. Because, constant viewers, at a time you think not, your friends, your family members, your loved ones, your life, and your Second Amendment freedoms will depart from you.